I love your Friday music posts, and I'm curious about hearing just a little bit about your workday. Like, are you back there like cranking on music all day, or is it just kind of like an after work? Like, what's your work relationship with those playlists and artists you talk about?
Yeah, so I started doing the Friday music post because at its core, I just love music. So whenever there's a chance, there's music on somewhere in the house, somewhere in the office, and it's a variety, man. It's everything from Yo-Yo Ma to, I don't know, Jay-Z. So I really just enjoy all forms. I'm a very frustrated musician. I've actually owned a guitar since I was 40, so now that's 15 years, and I still can't play a lick. So, yeah, I'm a frustrated musician that enjoys it very much. And the Friday playlist is just sort of showing a little bit of personality on LinkedIn. Oftentimes it's about business and leadership and stuff like that, and just let people know, there's something behind all that.
Walking through your office, you have you have a lot of artwork from the kids back there. It's really cool. I'm sure they think of this as where mommy and daddy work, but I would love to hear you tell me if you were explaining what WOW does to an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
Yeah, so if I had to explain it to an 8-year-old, I'd say we're a lot like your garage at your house. When people have stuff that doesn't fit in the house, we have a place for it. That's probably where I'd start. And just keep it simple, because that's our business. Simple, smart storage is what we're about, and we don't overcomplicate it. So whatever our customers' issues are, whether it's tariffs or whether it's overproduction, underproduction, mistiming of shipments, that's simple, smart storage is what we're all about. So I'd compare it to a garage.
I like that. I think what's interesting about what you all do, it's like if you spoke to a high school class, it doesn't have to get much more complicated than that, though.
Exactly.
Right?
No, anybody you're telling the story to, it's in today's world of it's AI and it's technology driven and all this stuff that you have to kind of figure out and learn. In our business, that's not the case. You see our trailers running up and down the road every day. You understand the asset and what it does. And then the solution we provide is unique in how we reposition that asset.
So when you kind of started off building this company, I know there's a great story there of you kind of looking out the window and having the light bulb moment. Tell me from like the very beginning, and maybe even preceding that moment a little bit. Tell me about how you thought of that very simple concept.
Yeah, so I came up with the concept for Warehouse on Wheels because I was a customer. I was literally renting trailers from a company that's still my largest competitor in Greater Cincinnati. But the bottom line was I was on the front lines trying to run a warehouse that was discombobulated, had containers arriving from Asia, unscheduled and out of sync, and we just didn't have enough room. And our solution was to rent trailers to create that capacity, to give us that flexibility. And so as we've discussed before, as I was looking out the window one night and realized I had 150 trailers on rent, I started wondering about that guy and that business. And as I did my homework and looked at that, saw what was out there as a very fragmented market, that was a light bulb moment for me. I saw there was an opportunity to consolidate that, to give family businesses an exit strategy, and to create something much larger and on a national scale.
It's interesting to me because we're dealing with now trying to get to your past role of the guy that writes the checks for the trailers, right? We want to work with that guy and help him figure out that we can provide that storage. Have you ever thought about the fact that like we've talked about the awareness issue of people don't even know that they can do storage trailers? Right. Have you ever thought about the fact that like you were that guy that like you were paying for it, but you weren't really thinking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's really what drives my focus on the connection to the front lines, the end user who needs this solution. So as I think about driving solution awareness, I was that guy. And so doing things like social media, trying to be top of mind, because when they need us, it's not a well thought out, planned 6 weeks from now, we're going to need this solution. It's a right now issue. And so what we're trying to do is to build that solution awareness, that brand awareness. So when the fire does come, they know who to call.
All right. So you're sitting there looking out the window and you think, well, that's interesting. What happens from there, though? Like, tell me the actual founding story.
Yeah.
I want to hear in the weeds of like how, because I've been through that, and I always think that I love hearing founder stories.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, how does John go start this thing?
This all got started with this idea. I'm looking out my window. I'm thinking about wow, I should be in that business. I'm using this solution. How do I bring this solution to more people? Because I know others need it. And in the meantime, I'm working as a CFO in private equity. I'm kind of cutting my teeth, learning a bunch of different businesses. I was in a tool manufacturing business. I was in a rental business that rented bucket trucks and digger derricks. I was in an inmate telephone communication business. And all the while in the back of my mind thinking, hey, I want to get back to this trailer rental concept. So I literally started the process. I knocked on the door of one of the operators here in Greater Cincinnati. He took my meeting. And he will still tell the story to this day. After that first meeting, when I left, he said, this guy has no idea what he's getting into. He thinks he's going to helicopter in here and
Was
then
he right?
run off to Florida. No, we proved him wrong.
I meant, did you have any idea what you were
Oh,
actually like?
I
Was
think
it way
so.
more than you
Yeah.
thought?
No, I don't think it was more than I thought. I think his view of it was I wanted to come in and just sit in the office and not get my hands dirty. And that's just not how my management style is. But that started this dialogue that took about 3 years. I was trying to buy his business, and he was evaluating whether to sell it to someone in the family. So we had this back and forth dance of trying to negotiate and acquire the business because I knew I needed a platform to start. And through the good Lord's graces, I was introduced to another group of guys who were doing the exact same thing. A small boutique investment firm out of Houston had bought a business in Evansville, Meisler Trailer Rental, and they didn't have a CEO. And so they asked me to join forces with them because we had the similar vision of how to consolidate this space. And that was in November of 2017. So we started 2 locations, about 4,000 trailers with that first platform. And today we're 37 locations, 37,000 trailers. We've done 20 plus acquisitions. We've purchased probably north of 10,000 trailers. We've changed investment partners. We've had a change in equity ownership. And so it's just been an amazing, blessed ride.
So you said you knew what you're getting into, or you had a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest thing, though? Like, what was the thing? There's something that caught you by surprise. What's that story?
I think the hardest thing is building the right team given the culture we're trying to build. We're trying to build this, what I call a local market CEO model. So that is the guy or gal that's running their market 150 miles outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. They're in control. They're going to hire, they're going to fire, they're going to buy and sell all day long. And so building that right team and then that infrastructure behind them to give them the toolbox to be successful. So what I hope I'm doing is I'm bringing entrepreneurs together with some sense of corporate structure and discipline so that we can just optimize and grow even faster.
It reminds me of the enterprise model. Like, I always hear that their managers can, they have total authority to do whatever it takes to make the customer happy, make it right. And that's kind of like, as I've watched with you guys, as I've gotten to work with you, it reminds me a lot of them.
Yeah, I think the enterprise model is a great comparison. I would tell you probably there's 2 or 3 people on our team that are from that model. There's also a couple other companies that we've poached from that were good training grounds. But they were big enough organizations where they frustrated people. Consultants would come in and change org structures, and the position they thought they were ascending to wasn't there anymore. And when we step in and provide them with this opportunity to run their own business, to have equity in the business, and to have the reward structure that we've put in place, it's really enticing, and it really wins hearts and minds.
We talked about the hardest thing that you've kind of overcome, but what's something that other people get wrong about your model, or what we do at WOW?
So as other people think about our model, I think one of the misconceptions is we're a leasing company. So they think of some of the big leasing guys that you see running up and down the road that are buying shiny new trailers and leasing them to trucking firms and other logistics providers for 5 and 7 years at a time. And for us, it's really about that short-term flexible rental. We repurpose those over-the-road trailers to very specific applications within supply chains. So relatively speaking, we don't have many trucking firms, transportation firms that are our customers. Our customers are the Fortune 500, the real household brand names that folks would know.
And you may not be able to say this,
Yep.
But we're in a safe space. What's the weirdest thing that has ever been stored on a WOW trailer?
Well, I think actually the weirdest thing that's probably ever been stored on a WOW trailer is when folks converted it to a living space. So some homeless folks decided that they would like to turn into a hotel room. So yeah, we had some unused trailers that were sitting on a lot, and went out to do the inspections, get them ready for rent, and essentially had a little community there that had set up shop and were living in the trailer.
Did you tell them it's just like, yeah, hey guys, for a couple $100 a month, you can just stay?
Well, we were polite. We didn't offer them Ritz-Carlton service at the Hampton Inn Price, which is my go-to line. But no, we politely asked them to leave. I believe we had to get the authorities involved, unfortunately. But yeah, so converted to a living space would be probably the strangest thing.
Yeah, I figured if it was a living space, it'd be like a raccoon or something. And, I didn't see that
Maybe even
coming.
a drunk raccoon.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. All right, finish this sentence. Actually, restate this sentence. The best thing about my job is.
The best thing about my job is the future we're building for our team members. I am extremely passionate about making sure that this is a business that has a long-lasting legacy and a positive impact on the families that are part of our team.
We talked earlier about what you tell kids, or what you would tell a kid what you do. I kind of want to hear now, like, what's your barbecue story? You had a backyard barbecue story, and what do you tell people you do?
It's interesting when I'm at a barbecue and folks ask what I do. If they're in some form of manufacturing or production or warehousing, it's a pretty easy connect. I basically start by saying, have you ever run out of space? Did you ever have stuff in the way that you wish wasn't in your way? We can help with that. So I think it starts there. If they're really in a service business, lawyers, bankers, that sort of thing, we start by saying, hey, we take trailers you would see on the highway, we repurpose them for very specific use within the supply chain to help people find extra space. And then my other go-to is a lot like self-storage. I ask them, have you ever rented a self-storage facility? The one where your wife wants to keep the kids' artwork from kindergarten, and now the kids are 30, and it's still in there. We provide that solution, but on wheels and to people that manufacture and distribute things.
I've thought about this a couple times because I rented a storage trailer or a storage unit recently as I was moving. And I've thought about how some of the WOW clients just have stuff that they store kind of in perpetuity in a WOW trailer. What, from like a business, like how does a business get into like what you do? Like there's no sentimental attachment to things. What does that look like when someone has the WOW trailer that's going to sit on their lot for the next 15 years?
Yeah, so some interesting stories about long rental periods. We actually had a construction firm that was building a medical campus, and they rented a trailer from us early on in the process. And that trailer stored electrical components, different construction materials as the buildings were being completed. When they got to the end of the project 8 years later, they realized that they had built the building so tight around the trailer that they couldn't get the trailer out. So we literally had to cut the trailer in half and crane the trailer over the buildings after it had been there for 8 years.
What's that invoice look like?
Well, they paid for the rental and they paid for the trailer, unfortunately.
They're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
And I know you came into this with a really good understanding of what the model was going to be, but usually at some point when you start a business that you realize it's going to work or that it is working, this thing has legs. Can you tell me about that moment with WOW?
As I think about when we were building WOW and when it sort of all clicked that this is going to work, it probably was the first couple of acquisitions. So we started with the Meisler business in Evansville. We acquired the Fitz business here in Greater Cincinnati. And then right at the onset of COVID, we acquired the Advantage business in Texas. And seeing those be acquired and integrated in a matter of about 60 days and just sort of naturally start to flow, pulling through customers from the different markets, it really confirmed that we had something here. And then as we were just out in the market talking to families that own these sorts of businesses, it was really confirming most don't have an exit strategy. They don't have a plan for what to do when they want to walk away from the business, and we really provide that solution.
You start a business, there's an opportunity you think you can serve better than other people. I know the answer is storage here, but tell me a little bit about the unique opportunity you saw to go do this and the problem uniquely that you wanted to solve.
Yeah, I think as we thought about the uniqueness of this solution and what we were designing, it was being that comprehensive solution from a geographic perspective, as well as whatever needs you had within the spectrum of your supply chain. So is it on the front end from raw materials to production? Is it on the second to last mile when you're trying to get things as close as you can to the customer? Is it the reverse logistics piece, dealing with returns and so forth? And so having a comprehensive view of the supply chain, having that comprehensive geographic reach was really the unique thing to the storage model itself. And then others in this space or adjacent spaces are really focused on the movement of goods. So up and down the highway, a certain vintage of trailer. We're on the other end of that spectrum and providing a use case for those.
Can you talk a little bit about the compounding value that every acquisition adds? Because I think part of what we've done so far, we take these local markets, which have value locally.
Absolutely.
But now, I mean, WOW's in three countries, and have a big presence in Canada. That starts to become a much larger value for a big strategic player who isn't just trying to solve a regional problem. Can you talk a little bit about that as a strategy for WOW, and then same thing of like why that's so much more valuable than just having a series of local partners?
So as you think about the strategic value and what we've built here in the scope from Montreal, Canada to Monterrey, Mexico, it's being that one-stop provider. So many organizations want to centralize purchasing. They want to deal with a limited number of vendors, maybe one or two, have a backup, if you will. But what we can do now for them is provide that comprehensive solution across their network of locations. And so there's great value in that for our customers. I think also it's that ability to one person in one pocket finds this as the optimal solution, and then they can leverage the best practice very easily because we're the same solution provider. So you don't have to worry about finding the local guy that does this. WOW's already there in one of our family of brands.
So you have a national strategy, and it can be a national strategy for your vendors or your clients. But talk to me about why really the only reason it works is the local people.
So when you think about our national brand or national reach, it's really about the local folks. And that's why we have the family of brands. Those trailers are our best advertising. They're rolling billboards, and they let everybody know that we're providing a solution when they see it parked at their next door neighbor's warehouse or what have you. And so really for us, the kind of the magic in our sauce is that those local people are taking care of the local people that need them. We've talked before about the fact that, yes, maybe at a national level, folks make decisions and think that this is a good solution, but the people that have to live it every day on the front lines, they need that local touch point, that local connection to solve that immediate need, and that's what we bring to the table.
All right, we were recently working on all your messaging, and really through, I think you and Matt kind of ended up landing us on this this tagline, we were down to like 3 or 4 options, and you guys kind of took one and shaped it into something that I love because I think it's uniquely you. Tell me what simple, smart storage means to you.
Yeah, for us, the tagline simple, smart storage is just so encompassing of what we are. We provide a straightforward solution. We're easy to do business with. When you look at the economics, hands down, we're the smartest option, and it's about storage. Whether it's storage that moves short distances, whether it's storage that stays domiciled in a particular campus. And so each of those words really align with what we do day in and day out. And so there's no fluff. There's no, you got to assume, you got to trust us. We do it every day for over 7,000 customers, time and time again. And when you look at our performance and our customer churn, once we win a heart and mind, we don't lose them. We very rarely churn a customer logo. They may plus 50 trailers, take down 25 trailers, but at the end of the day, they're still a customer, and that means the world to us.
Tell me about some of these, like the crazier moments or some good stories of when you guys have kind of reacted to the madness.
Yeah, I think it's all that firefighting stories. It would be like the guys jumping out of the plane to go fight the fire, in the forest. Is the customer calls and we jump into action. So some stories around how we've been responsive like that. I think about customers that have called on a Saturday and guys have rallied, and by Monday morning they have everything they need and it's ready to go. So that short turnaround, that responsiveness, that never say no attitude is what we're really all about. When we went out and did our voice of the customer work, We heard that time and time again, that just that Ritz-Carlton level of service that you and I have talked about several times, that high touch, high customer intimacy. When you need it, we're ready to go. And so, there's a multitude of those stories. One in particular that comes to mind is container deliveries coming in from overseas. Companies faced with very heavy drayage charges because those containers were sitting there and needed to be emptied. And so again, the guys rallying all day on Saturday, all day on Sunday, trailers prepped, delivered, ready to go for the crews that arrived Monday morning.
What are those fees? What's that look like when they're sitting there? Like how much is that fee that they're dealing with?
Yeah, so detention fees are a big issue for our customers, especially these days with tariffs, and trying to balance that buy ahead and try to get ahead of those sorts of things. So a detention fee for some can run $300 a day, and we're going to offer a trailer for something similar to that over a month. So, really the economics always are going to lean in our favor when it comes to those sorts of issues.
That's per trailer.
Per trip.
And so, and some of your clients have, what's the biggest client? How many?
So our largest client probably has on average about 1,200 trailers at any given time within their supply chain.
And then, but really, like yesterday, I saw one order 3.
Right.
We can scale down, can scale up. I think that's the beauty of it. Can you talk a little bit about, and I think I have this somewhere on here, but I'll go and get to it now because I'm thinking about it. We have simple, smart storage, which I love as a tagline, but we also talk about the business as short-term storage, long-term strategy. Can you talk through that ebb and flow and what that means?
For us, the idea of short-term solution but a long-term strategy really resonates with our biggest customers. We've provided trailers to those folks for over 25 years. We're literally ingrained in the supply chain. So when we talk about a concept like that, they can flex in and out of 100 here, 100 there, because we're big enough to be able to respond to that in a multitude of cities. But we're there constantly. We've got the maintenance infrastructure. We've got the responsiveness when there are service needs. We can be sustainable partners within their supply chain. And so that's really where that all kind of comes together.
You guys bail people out. Can you talk a little bit about some really good stories of people's reactions for you guys kind of stepping in and being a hero, but also making them the hero, right?
Yeah. So some great stories where we want to make the customer the hero. That's our goal. We don't need anybody to know who we are. In fact, I've had a CEO of a Fortune 500 company tell me, John, the only way I really know who you guys are is if something goes wrong, because you're probably going to get blamed for it. So we try to avoid that, obviously. But we really want those frontline leaders within warehouse and operations to be the heroes, because they're making it happen every day. And it's interesting, as we do our voice of customer studies and I'm out visiting with customers, I had one very large global manufacturer, a name that if you heard it, you'd say, okay, they're best in class. And one of his comments to me was, you guys solve problems before I even know I have them. You guys are that forward thinking. You're that tied into my operation that you're thinking ahead and you're preparing me for things I don't even know are coming. And that, you can't ask for much more than that.
Do you really want people to think about, wow?
In the grand scheme of things, it would be great for folks to really not notice us, because that means we're doing our job. We're showing up like that dedicated employee who never asks for time off, never asks for a raise, just shows up every day and does their work. I often joke that our trailers are our best employees because they do all those things. They show up every day ready to go to work. They don't ask for a day off. They don't complain about pay. So yeah, our trailers are some of our best team members in that reliability and that ready to go to work mindset. So it's good when you're not noticed, because that means you're doing your job.
Tell me a little bit about, like, if I were going to rent trailers, I'm new to this concept, as I still think a lot of people probably are. One of my concerns would be like, okay, I need this long-term. If I'm playing the long-term play, can I really trust my stuff sitting in a trailer? You guys have a really interesting service model, and like, you got a truck, we'll be out there and fix this, ASAP. Can you, we shot some of the service truck yesterday. I don't even know where this would go, but I think it's good conversation to talk about, because that could be a concern of someone's, is, what happens if, we got a leak? Like, how does that get fixed? Do I got to swap everything, or do you come fix it? Just talk through that model.
So when you think about the prospects of renting a trailer, oftentimes folks wonder, well, what happens if something happens to the trailer while it's on rent or loaded? And that's really where our service teams come in. So that responsiveness, we're going to get a guy on site taking care of whatever that issue is. So one of your fork truck drivers drives a blade through the side of the truck or raises up a pallet too far and punches a hole in the roof. We got guys and gals that respond to that on your site, taking care of it almost immediately. We're dispatching local people who are going to take care of that. If it's a bigger issue, need to bring it back to our shops. We obviously have that capacity. And so for us, we offer that benefit of the asset itself. It shows up ready to go to work, high quality product. And then if anything happens while it's on rent, we're right there with you to make sure that it doesn't disrupt your operation.
Yeah, we saw the operation yesterday where they had, I don't know, they probably had 6 trailers in being repaired to go back out. And it's a big operation. And actually they even told me, they're like, oh, that was good for filming, but it was a slow day. They said, normally we have a lot more coming through. Can you talk about that quality control? Because I think it's a good story for people to know that we're not just taking, if one comes in damaged, it's not rolling back out the same way. I mean, these guys are cutting out the floorboards to replace them if they have to. Yesterday they ripped off an entire bumper and we're replacing that. And I know you guys are systematizing this more and more as we move on for consistency and speed. So can you talk through a little bit about how we have a quality control that before they go back out into the field?
So when you think about our operation and our shops, even our on-site service, the quality control aspect of that is of the utmost importance because we want to show up with a trailer that's safe, dark, and dry. That's what we want to deliver to our customer and have that for the entire rental period. One of the ways we help ensure that is we have committed to building a learning organization here. We literally have hands-on, our guys doing training videos to teach the other guys the optimal way to do repairs and what the standard is, the expectation of the quality of that repair. So I've been very blessed to have investors who have been wholeheartedly behind a learning organization, and we have developed the technology. We're training guys on a consistent basis. We're onboarding people with the basics of what they need to do, and then our shop managers are actually inspecting in that quality as well. So safety is of the utmost importance for us. We say safety first, safety always, and that is through all aspects of the business.
Yeah, one thing I thought was cool is I was talking to a guy named, I think his name was Lenny, at Meisler yesterday. He said he'd worked there for 3 or 4 years. And I was like, so do you guys kind of each have your own specialty? He's like, no, man, like we'll take one guy's going to go through this thing and comb through it.
Yeah.
And I was asking him I said, are you deciding what's fixed? Do you get a list? And he's like, well, it's a little bit of both. He's like, if I see something, I'm not going to let this trailer go back out. Can you talk through that? I think that's a cool story.
Yeah.
Of like this dude cared. He's like, I'm going to inspect this thing. I'll do what they told me, but if I see something else, I'm going to fix it. Can you talk through that? Because I think that's a really cool story.
Yeah, when you visit our service operations, I think one of the really powerful statements is our guys' ability to do what needs to be done. So it's interesting, when you join the company, in your welcome packet, there's a letter from me that's called the Ultimate Expectation. And in that Ultimate Expectation, I basically share with them, welcoming to the team, you've been hired to do a specific job, but you've also been hired with the ultimate expectation that if there's something that needs to be done that makes us safer, that takes care of the customer and improves the lives of our team members, I expect you to take that action. And that really manifests itself in our shops. These guys have the power to stop and make the call and do what's necessary to make sure that we're delivering a safe, dark, and dry trailer to our customers. And we live that every day. And then when you couple that with the fact that all these guys are essentially owners of the business and they have incentives around growing and building the successful business, you align those financial resources with our learning organizations and the skills we develop, that empowerment culture, it makes it pretty hard to stop, and it delivers a high level of service to our customers.
We talked a little bit about your people just now, but what kind of employee thrives here?
I oftentimes say we're looking for the MacGyvers. We're looking for the Swiss Army knives. We're a small team, relatively speaking, with 38,000 trailers. We're about 225 employees, so not a lot of folks. And so you got to be willing to pitch in and do what needs to be done. It kind of aligns back to our foundations in extreme ownership and doing what the job is in front of you, but then also what needs to be done.
When you're interviewing employees, how do you guys identify somebody that has that wow factor?
As we're interviewing team members and thinking about those that we want to join our team, it's all about level of effort. So if you look back in their experiences, and two of the questions I often ask in an interview is, describe for me your best day at work in the last 90 days. What's a day when you went home from work and thought, yeah, that's why I'm doing this? And then I ask the inverse. What was one of those days when you went home and said, I don't know why I'm doing this job? And I'm not really trying to understand specifically that instance, but what I'm trying to understand is the likes and dislikes. And so if a day of chaos, a day of having to do a bunch of different stuff appealed to you and that was exciting, then that's good, because that's probably what we're going to ask you to do. If that frustrated you, if you went home and thought, nope, I just wanted to do this one task, probably not the right fit. And so I think those kind of ground at least the interviews that I have and sort of what the expectation is.
You got a lot of leaders in this company. Have to, with the way you've built it and structured it, and it'll only continue to get bigger. So what's the one habit or belief system you want them to have?
So as you think about leaders in our business and the expectation of those leaders, it's all grounded in extreme ownership. That book had a profound impact on me and my management style. And when you come to work for us as a manager, you're given a copy of the book. You're expected to read it. You get the workbook. We send you to the 2 or 3 day offsite training. We've even taken a group of our guys to what they call their field training exercise. So I had 30 general managers running around this simulator of combat in Texas, learning leadership lessons found in extreme ownership. So that's really where it's grounded. And to me, it just keeps it so simple. There are 4 basic laws of combat. Everybody kind of gets it. We align it with our business, and we use those terms when we talk about the business and when we talk about performance.
What makes you proud of this team?
It's the resilience. It's the fact that everybody is just bought in. It's amazing to me how they look out for one another, genuinely care about each other as a person and not just a means to an end to accomplish something from a business perspective. And that's not something I did. It's just this natural evolution of this group as we've picked the right people to be on the team, guys that get it, that understand that it's about more than just you. And then when you align that with the benefit structure, the reward structure of the organization, to me as a leader, it makes it easy to get everybody rowing in the right direction.
All right, we talked a lot about what you've taught them and want them to do and know. What have they taught you?
For me, I think my team has taught me to have even greater confidence in trusting folks. They have proven time and time again that they don't need me, and that's awesome. That's the goal. So when an issue comes up, when a customer has a problem, needs something faster, and they've got to make a decision on how to shift things in the shop and make those tactical decisions, all of that, those local market CEOs are handling all those tactical decisions. When we set a strategic direction, when we come together and we agree upon, hey, this is the hill we're facing, that's the flag we're going to capture, I know that they're going to find the best path to that flag because we're all talking the same language. We all understand that we're reaching behind to help bring that next person along. And so it's taught me trust. It's improved my patience and letting things evolve. So yeah, it's been a real shift for me.
There's a lot going on in the logistics space. Get in the weeds a little bit on, the economics of warehousing versus using this flexible model. Warehouses, it's like they're never perfect, right? You never have the perfect amount of space. You always have either too much or too little, right? But you guys offer an opportunity to where you can have that perfect amount of just what you need. Get in the weeds a little bit on that and, flex your logistic muscle here. This might be a really nerdy one for somebody, but just to kind of show the example.
Yeah, so when you think about the solution we provide and how it fits into the term supply chain or the world of logistics, I oftentimes say it's a lot like Goldilocks. It's just right. So whenever you're going to go lease a warehouse, you go big if you can get the corporate approval. And so probably you got too much space. Or maybe you don't get the right corporate approvals and you don't get enough space. So you got too small of a warehouse. That's where we come in. We're going to help you find that just right solution. We're also going to help you avoid having to go up the chain of command and ask for that extra warehouse space because the solution we provide in most instances is about 4 times less expensive on a per square footage basis. We're a 30-day evergreen contract, so you don't have a 5, 7, 10-year lease that you'd have with a warehouse. And you just don't have all the headaches that come with the triple net pass-through and the common area maintenance and all those sorts of things. The trailer's going to show up ready to go to work. If something happens while it's on your site, needs repair, needs attention, we're responding to you on your site. And so really it is the optimal solution for those guys that just need a little more this, a little more that.
How does WOW keep its responsiveness at scale?
When we think about WOW and the scale that we've now built, one of the key things we need to do is to keep the responsiveness, sort of the pizza delivery model. I think we all as a culture have kind of evolved. Amazon spoiled us. So same day delivery and all those sorts of things. And so that expectation permeates all aspects of our lives and that immediate responsiveness. The way we deal with that is that local market CEO and the way we run our operations. So that group of people is going to service about a 150-mile radius, and they're going to take great care of them. Again, they're guys in your community, gals in your community that you're going to maybe even know, maybe even interact. Kids play sports together. But that's the person that's going to take care of you when that need arises. And that really allows us, as we scale and go from 2 locations to 37 locations, you're getting that same experience, maybe under a different brand name.
You've had a 8-year run. You've grown this thing into 3 countries. What's next that has you really excited?
Yeah. So when we started this thing, it was interesting. We were really focused on building out this U.S.-based footprint. And as we've evolved, we've expanded into Canada and see what a tremendous opportunity that is. It's a substantial operation for us now. And just in the last 6 months, we've expanded to Mexico. So as I think about the future and what WOW can be, my vision is 100 locations and 100,000 trailers. So basically 3x from where we are today. I believe that there's enough white space that we currently don't service. I believe there's enough densification of the markets we do service that is absolutely attainable over the next, I hope, 5 years. So I oftentimes tell our shareholders, we've built a rocket and we have a flight plan. We need rocket fuel. And that's really what they've supplied, and it's been a great partnership.
You have the finance background, but interesting, literally were in the situation of being a customer. Has that been the best thing for you, is like just having that perspective? Because sometimes it's hard to be in your customer's mindset, right? Like, tell me a little bit about the advantage I assume that's been.
When I think about building WOW and what we do for our customers and the value proposition, just the tactical response, I really draw upon my experience in the warehouse. Literally picking, packing orders and being responsible for warehouse operations, for manufacturing operations. I've literally sat in the chair that my customer currently sits in, and I think that provides a tremendous connection point. A lot of folks in transportation only come from transportation. They don't necessarily have deep roots in what gets put in those trailers or what gets moved in those trailers. And being an operator, having that experience on the shop floor day in and day out, I think it's a tremendous value and keeps me grounded in what we're trying to do here.
I'm trying to think if you told me about this before or if I just saw it on that LinkedIn post. That I think you had told me a little bit about it when you and I first met. We were talking about your all's headquarters, which is beautiful, by the way. This is really slick office, and you all might have the best corner views of an office that I've been to in a long time. But what's really interesting, and is it this one right here, right? So we're sitting right next to your boardroom, and anyone walking in would notice that there are 2 red chairs sitting there, which it's pretty uncommon. Most conference rooms, and even your other conference room over here, I think, has just your normal matching chairs. But this one, very curiously, has 2 red ones. Tell me the story of why you guys decided to do that.
I'm very proud of our 2 red chairs. So as you mentioned, in our boardroom, very typical boardroom, dark wood table, black leather high back chairs, company artwork and so forth. But I bought 2 red chair covers off of Amazon, and I did that for a very specific reason. When we meet in that boardroom, we're making decisions that impact 2 very, very important groups in my mind, and we need to keep them always in our thoughts. First, our customers, and the second is our team members and their families. So those 2 red chairs, each one represents those constituencies. So one represents the customer and all our decisions we make and the choices we about building this business and how we service the market, and then our team members and their families. So those financial decisions we make, the investments, the risk we take in this business, we need to stay grounded in how it impacts those two constituencies, and that's what those two red chairs are meant to represent.
I know that sometimes people think that they want those new shiny trailers, but actually what you guys do is way better for what they need,
right,
for a lot of reasons. So you just talk through that.
So in our business, oftentimes folks will focus on the shiny new trailers and think about, hey, that's what I see running over the road. That's probably what I need for my storage solution. And one of the most powerful things we can do is take one of our ready-to-go-to-work trailers and roll it to a site and set it beside a shiny new trailer. And you'll find it hard to differentiate. It's safe, dark, and dry. It's roadworthy. It's ready to go to work. And our trailer solution is going to be so much more economical than that shiny new trailer. And usually with the shiny new, they're going to require a 5-year lease, a 7-year lease, or just a 30-day evergreen contract to rent. So fit for use, safe, dark, and dry, and of the same quality. That's really the power in what we offer versus that perception of shiny new. Another great thing that we talk about sometimes is folks underappreciate the age of things. So oftentimes folks will focus on shiny and new, and that's sort of our culture and what they want. And so when they think about trailers, that's their default. And I love to tell the story and ask them if they've flown recently a short flight, like on a commuter plane from, say, Cincinnati to, heck, even Chicago or some city, or just a small short flight. And have they ever noticed on the inside of the door of the plane, as you board the plane, it actually has the model year of the plane there? And I would bet them dollars to donuts that that plane they're about to get on is probably north of 20 plus years old. So if you're comfortable enough with you and your family hopping on that 20-year-old plane to fly to some nearby city, and knowing the quality of the work that we do and the service we provide, you can be really rest assured that that trailer we're going to provide is going to show up safe, dark, and dry and ready to go to work. So when you think about how often do trailers fail based on age and so forth, the risk is relatively de minimis. Those things are over-engineered. And then when you couple that with the fact that these trailers generally get loaded and sit idle with the materials in them, they're not running up and down the road, which is really what creates the wear and tear on a trailer, it just further extends the life of that trailer. And so given our standards of repair, the quality of work that we do, the level of inspections, the way we maintain our fleet, when you tie all that together, again, safe, dark, and dry, shows up ready to go to work.
One of the things that I'm really impressed with is the service aspect of what you guys do. You have the trucks, they're ready to go with torches, welders, sheet metal, whatever. Like it's really cool. It's like an ambulance, right? It's like that whole setup. You got everything they need to go fix that trailer up. That's pretty unique to you guys. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm most proud of is our service and our responsiveness. When we look at reasons why we win business, oftentimes we win it because of our level of service. So some folks that we cross paths with from a competitive nature standpoint, oftentimes we'll rent you a trailer and then it's sort of forgotten. And so if an issue comes up, a tire's flat, a fork truck driver drove a blade through the side of it, getting them out there to do that repair takes weeks, if not months. And in our case, that's not how we operate. We're out there next day, within a matter of hours if we can, to make sure that we're getting that asset back in a ready-to-go-to-work state for you. And so that has proven to be a big reason why we win, is that level of service, that responsiveness.